I'll be your host today. Today we have Venessa and Bonita here from 369 Collective, and they're going to be talking about what is branding and why is it important. One of the things that we were just talking about before this session was that branding is more than just your logo, and we're going to get deep into that and go into all the facets that are involved in your brand. It's a super important element of getting your business out there and being recognizable. So you might be streaming with us on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. No matter where you are, please get your questions answered by these two experts by dropping them into the comment section, Q&A section, or the chat function, depending on the platform you're streaming from. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's feedback or questions or comments or just a hello. So do drop in there. Welcome, Venessa and Bonita. Now, I've had the pleasure of meeting Venessa a number of times now. And we are very grateful for the sessions that she's put forward this year and will in the new year. And Bonita, you're a new guest, so thank you so much for joining us. I've seen the work that you do, and it's amazing. Kia ora.
Hey.
Hey. How are you going today? Thanks so much for joining us.
We're good, yeah. So, yeah, as we discussed, I went through a rebranding process with Bonita, you know, even for me, having worked in this digital space and helping clients with their branding, their websites, that kind of thing, copywriting, I haven't ever done such a deep dive into it. And you know, the first graphic designer I worked with didn't do this exercise, and so the resulting logo and branding wasn't right, and it just never really felt right. And so even before I launched my website, I rebranded. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that, and then Bonita's going to go into what is a brand, what is involved, talk about, you know, brand archetypes, talk about, you know, your ideal audience, and going beyond just the logo. So Bonita's going to share his screen, and I'm going to talk to a few slides. It will be available as a resource, so I'm not going to dwell on my section because Bonita's got quite a lot to get through. And then, yeah, if we can have questions throughout, that's helpful.
Perfect.
So Bonita touches on a particular subject that someone wants a bit more explanation on. If people can just ask questions, that'd be amazing.
I'll put questions from Facebook and the other channels into this chat. Are you going to read out the questions, or shall I?
You can read. I don't mind.
Okay. I'm happy to jump back on here and there when there's questions, and we'll handle them as they come through. Sounds good. I'm going to drop off now and let you drive and make sure everything's running in the back.
Thank you.
Looks great.
Is that all good? Can you see that?
Yep.
So, recently, probably a few months ago, I had a chat with Bonita, and been working with Bonita for a little while, and said to her, "Look, what is your honest opinion on, you know, my logo? Because it's something that niggled at me. It just didn't feel right, and like my branding and colors, it never seemed to." Just something felt off, and initially she was really polite, and you know, didn't say it was too bad. And then I said, "Look, just give me the lowdown," and that's how we got to rebranding. So next slide, please. So often when you go through this process, you know, you don't really know what you don't know, and you don't know where to start. You don't know what to tackle first. You don't know who can help you. And often you don't know who to trust. That's, you know, that's part of it. You don't even know what it's worth, what it should cost, all of that. But this is where you know, Bonita and myself can help sort of ease that overwhelm and break it down into the basics. Next one. So the way it works is Bonita's come up with a bespoke 37-page workbook, which you work through on your own. It has a guide to explain everything. So it doesn't just say what are your brand archetypes. It actually says what are brand archetypes, and it explains to you, it even gives examples of images, and so it's a really useful, but it is, I found it challenging, mostly because I hadn't gone that deep into my brand and what my business, you know, why my business existed. So there's a rebranding questionnaire, and the workbook looks at the purpose, the vision, the mission, and the values. So we look at the current branding first. You know, what's the current persona template? What's you know, look at a competitive analysis, so other business in my space. What's my current brand messaging? What's the current brand voice? And what's the current visual identity checklist? And from there, you kind of go, well, okay. So what you want to achieve, is that what's being portrayed in your branding, in your logo? And in my case, there was not a good alignment there. So yeah, like I've often, like Bonita will tell you, that a brand identity goes beyond the logo. A logo is a mark. We looked at the purpose, so why do we exist? We looked at the vision. What do we want to create in the future? What does the future look like? This is really great for your strategic planning. Your mission, what are you here to do? How do we create that future? And then we look at what principles guide our behavior in terms of values. So these are the brand archetypes, and what's quite good here is Bonita will use certain terms, branding terms, and then we will explain it. So mine was basically identified as the primary is the caregiver. I'm not going to go through all of that, but a caregiver is basically someone who, you know, really has a vested interest and really cares about the outcome of their client solution or whatever you're providing for them. The everyman basically relates to, now there's a lot of these, Bonita will go through them, and every brand will be completely uniquely different. So the two that are identified, primary caregiver and secondary, the everyman. So this is basically how Bonita came up with the actual branding colors. So we looked at the logo is guided by the everyman archetype and uses vibrant, uplifting colors and tones. The color palette is bright and hopeful, energetic, friendly and bold. It's got a non-corporate appearance because we want to put small businesses at ease and feel comfortable and you know, get them to trust us enough to work with us. The logo is what they call a word mark combo, which is great for brand recognition. So from the start, I think this is, yeah, from the start, I've been drawn to the circular logo for you. This is from Bonita. The circle communicates your position perfectly. The logo uses a circle to communicate U369, encompassing all the services. The fluid circle on the outside serves as a visual representation of the degree symbol, as well as representing brand partner involvement. So that, you know, that basically just shows that we're a collective. The fonts that we were using is later, is clean and easy to read from a distance and at small sizes. The logo is clean and honest, and it can be presented in different formats, which you'll see next. So you can see it in the round version. Do you have the other versions, Bonita? So basically, you want the logo depending on what whether you're doing a brochure, whether you're doing a website, whether you're doing a social media post. You need the logo to work in various formats. So in long, you know, square, round, and in different color variations and patterns. So this part of the presentation is Bonita's going to do. But you know, from a client perspective, I worked very closely with Bonita, and I learned a lot about my own brand that I didn't even know. Because of the deep dive and the kinds of questions that she asked throughout that questionnaire. And this is part of the process that she went through with me. So I'll leave you with Venessa now.
Okay, I'm online, right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so hi, I'm Bonita. I'm the founder and brand strategist at this brand. Thank you for having me, and thank you all for joining us today. So let's discuss, what is branding and why is it important? First things first. There's no such thing as no brand, brandless, or too small to brand. Your company is both a business and a brand. If you have a business, you have a brand. So what is branding? More than what is branding, I would have you ask, what is a brand? Often when people talk about a brand, they're referring to the logo, but the logo is only the physical mark used to identify the business. A brand is much more than a physical mark. It's an emotional mark, more specifically, an emotional experience, strengthened or weakened through every interaction with your business. We define a brand as what people think, feel, and say about your business. This differs from marketing, which is what you say about your business. A brand is a person's gut feeling of your product, your service, or your organization. It's a gut feeling because people are emotional and intuitive beings. And as humans and consumers, we tend to base our buying decisions and choices on trust. So every person who's ever come in contact with your business has developed an image in their minds and a feel about your business, your brand, in their mind and, in their gut. So they've already decided what kind of company your brand are, or whether they can trust you without you ever having the opportunity to tell them like your side of the story. So you want to be actively influencing that perception and that gut feeling that people have about you. If you don't take control of how your business or your brand is perceived, it will be decided for you by the interactions people have with your business. They will have and develop this image that they have of your business in their mind, and you will have no influence in that whatsoever. So let's look at some examples of real-world scenarios where incorrect branding and the possible downfalls of getting it wrong, whether it's your message or your image. Let's say you're having trouble getting clients or making sales. You have a great product. Your doors are wide open. Your website's up and you're on social media every day. You get a lot of visitors, but the sales aren't rolling in. Why could this be? When someone enters to check your website or enters your website to check out your products, do they feel like they are in the right place? Did you meet their expectations? Do you solve the problems they have? Or do they feel like they can't trust you, that your products won't deliver the results they are looking for? Or perhaps that they are surprised by the price tag and it's not what they expected it to be. So what could have gone wrong here? Did you target and attract the right audience? And no, everyone is not your target customer. You've likely heard of the terms audience research and customer avatars. Both these terms understate the intimacy and detail required to fully understand who you're trying to help. To really understand your audience, you need to replicate their emotional state when they need your help the most, or when they need your product the most. Identify the problems your audience faces in and around the problem you solve, and how these problems impact their emotions. Remember, people buy with their emotions. If you understand what state they are in at the time they are looking for your product, you can speak to that emotion and influence their buying decision. Let's take, for instance, if you want to sell a black male-looking razor to a woman, you have to understand her frustration with pink tacks, razor burn, painful waxing, epilatus, and ultimately poor results. So branding is about resonating, and there is no better way of resonating than to show an intimate understanding of your customers' problems and how to solve those problems in their lives. So how do you make their lives better? Show them. Tell the teenager with the acne you can boost their confidence, or the anxious businessman you can solve the thing that's causing him sleepless nights. So let's use the businessman as an example. Our stressed out business owner who is trying to meet his sales goals this month to stay on track for his target. His immediate goal is that he wants to generate more leads through his website. So let's say we've met him, and after we've met with him, we've uncovered that his website is driving visitors away. This could be due to slow speeds or poor layout, the wrong message, no call to actions. So this is causing him more stress because now he has to focus more time on finding new leads when he should have been closing deals. So we offer him a done-for-you fresh website build that will solve his immediate goal, which is to generate more leads and reduce his stress. Now he has a steady stream of leads and more time to focus on closing sales and meeting his sales targets. The other option is, did you use the right messaging? Are you speaking directly to your visitor or speaking in general, into the void? Are you telling them that you have a solution to their problem, or just telling them to buy your product for no good reason? Does your brand communicate both the functional and emotional benefits your product or services provide? Do you really communicate the value people get from it? Does your brand and message specify exactly how you solve a problem, and most importantly, why people should choose you? When they interacted with your brand, how did you make them feel? Imagine for a moment that you're a security company. You want to be perceived as a trusted protector. Are you using a confident and reassuring tone of voice? Did you make your visitor feel that you are an authority and they can trust you with their most valuable assets, or when they are at their most vulnerable? Could your image have a role in this? Do you look the part? Does all of your assets communicate the same confidence and authority? Or is it a mixed match that just confuses your visitor and ultimately loses their trust? Just like this little dog with a big bark. Okay, let's do another example. You're too expensive. You're constantly hearing that your products or services are too expensive. Why? Could it be that your image makes you look cheap? Could it be that the image you're projecting into the marketplace makes you look cheap and attracts people who only want cheap products or simply who cannot afford your products? Your image doesn't communicate a sense of quality and doesn't attract an audience willing to pay for a more premium product or service. Based on your image and messaging, your visitor had a certain expectation of your price tag. So a logo is not a brand. Your logo is about identity. Your logo is a symbol that is recognizable and associated with your product, your service, or company. It's only one element of your brand identity. Your logo is the face that represents your brand. Your brand identity is also more than style guides, marketing materials, or color palettes. Your brand identity is a combination of how your brand looks, feels, and speaks to customers. It influences the entire customer experience and ultimately affects how others view your credibility and business. Think of your brand as a person. People are complex, and so is a brand. The logo is the face, the visual identity, which is the color palettes, the fonts, photography styles. That's how that person dresses. The brand voice is how they speak. They can be confident or warm and welcoming. The message is what they say. They might be an expert in their field or a comforting friend that offers advice and support. They have their own unique personality. They might be fun and quirky, adventurous, or a strong leader. They have values and beliefs that influences their decisions. That is a brand. And just like real people, a brand attracts, resonates, and connects with people, or in our case, customers. A gym for women and mothers won't intimidate their members with the identity of a powerhouse weightlifting, kill or be killed gym, unless that's your niche and you are actively seeking women who specifically want that. But you won't appeal to the tired new mom who just wants to jog the treadmill in peace. So give your business an identity. Treat your brand as a person. The identity elements, I'm just naming a few because there are a lot, so we'll just focus on a few main ones. Personality, message, and values. So the brand personality, or we call them archetypes, we use brand archetypes to identify a brand's personality. This is a concept modeled off people's behaviors and personalities. This archetypal framework helps us build human-like brand personas. Archetypes are the heartbeat of a brand because they convey meaning and makes customers relate to your brand as if it was alive. They help define your brand so that your customers will develop a relationship with it and care about it. We all have basic human desires. We aren't taught to want or need them. We just do. They are instinctive and primitive, and I'm sure all of you can relate. When we consider that certain behaviors or personalities increase certain desires, we can understand why some personalities appeal to us more than others. So falling under, and these are the 12 brand archetypes I'm going to discuss now. They all do have 3 subcategories, but these are the main ones. So falling under the legacy category. For liberation would be the outlaw, with characteristics that include disruptive, rebellious, or combative. Examples of such brands are Virgin, Harley-Davidson, and Diesel. For power, we've got the magician, with characteristics like mystical, informed, or reassuring. Examples of the magician brands are Coca-Cola, Disney, or Dyson. For mastery, we have the hero, with characteristics that can include honest, candid, or brave. Examples of these brands are Adidas, Nike, or FedEx. For connection, we have intimacy, that would be the lover, with characteristics like sensual, empathetic, or soothing. Examples of such brands are Alfa Romeo, Chanel, or Victoria's Secret. For enjoyment, we have the jester. This is a fun one, with characteristics like fun-loving, playful, or optimistic. Examples of the jester brands are M&M's, Old Spice, or Ben & Jerry's. And this is the new Old Spice, because the Old Spice had a rebrand, and they are so funny right now. Okay, and then finally we have the Everyman. I'm sorry, did I skip one?
No.
The jester, right, the Everyman, with characteristics, they are friendly, humble, and authentic. Examples are IKEA, KFC, or Kit Kat, and in our case, 369 degrees. For structure, we have service, that would give us the caregiver, and they have characteristics of calming, warm, and reassuring. Examples will be UNICEF, World Wildlife Fund, and Dove. For control, we have the ruler. They are commanding, refined, and articulate. This would be Louis Vuitton or Mercedes-Benz. Innovation would be the creator, inspirational, daring, and proactive. Examples are Lego, Apple, and Adobe. For spirituality, you get safety, which would be the innocent. They are optimistic, honest, and humble. And that would include brands like Dove, Chanel, and Coca-Cola. You will see here that some of these brands do overlap, because you could fall under 2 or 3, even 3 categories, with one being your main and then a few subcategories that fall under your values and your personality. Right, so for understanding, we have the SAGE. They have characteristics like knowledgeable, assured, and guiding. Examples would be BBC, Google, and Audi. For freedom, you get the Explorer. They are fun, they are exciting, fearless, and daring. Examples would be Jeep, Red Bull, even Starbucks. So your brand can fall under 2 or 3 of these archetypes, with a main category and then the subs. Looking at my brand, this brand, as an example, under the creator, my audience is drawn to creativity, creative thinking, and problem solving. Under the outlaw, they are risk takers and progressive. So they are not afraid of breaking the mold and doing things differently. And finally, the explorer, they want freedom and to do what they love. So we go beyond the visuals using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking. We help determined entrepreneurs to build confident, bold brands that truly connect with their customers through strategy and the humanized messaging and creative thinking. So we want your brand to be confident and bold. When you understand the personality, you will be more confident, and then you will truly connect with your customers. Okay, so your brand messaging. Your content tells your brand story, whether you realize it or not. To make the most impact, you need to tell your story consistently across all touch points in every piece of content. Brand messaging is the art of using the right words to communicate the essence of your brand to potential customers. Every brand needs a voice. Messaging provides the words that help your customers and prospects understand a brand's value, why it's useful, and its values, what it believes in. It communicates the brand's promise. The brand's messages tell a story that gets people excited about your services and rallies them behind you. In the war for customers' hearts, messaging leads the charge. In a perfect world, you could sit down with all potential customers over a coffee and explain to them why they should do business with you. But in reality, your customers only have a split second with you or with your ad and your website to make a gut decision about whether you're worthy of their money. Your brand values are the beliefs that you as a company stand for. They serve as the compass that guides your brand story, actions, behaviors, and decision-making process. Brand values matter because they influence how customers view your brand, which is important considering that consumers are more likely to support a brand whose core values align with their own. Building your brand around your core values allows you to grow a business that you can be proud of and be passionate about. And because those core values reflect you and your company, it becomes much easier to stay true to yourself. And in an era where consumer trust is at an all-time low, it pays to have a core set of values that helps you maintain brand authenticity. If you want your customers to keep coming back for more, you must connect with them on a deeper level. The visual branding elements includes items like your logo, your website, and your business cards. A bad first impression is hard to shake, especially when you're competing against a sea of contenders. When it comes to branding, potential customers will have no reason to give a visually unimpressive brand the benefit of the doubt. It's up to the brand to earn that kind of trust. The visual identity is how you shape perception and create an impression through the visible elements of your brand. Images are a powerful form of communication, specifically because they do not communicate with words. They speak on a primal emotional level and are thus more persuasive. But with great power of communication comes great responsibility. You'll want to be extra cautious that you're not sending the wrong message. Like, remember the little dog? Customers will have no reason to give a visually unimpressive brand the benefit of a doubt. We recognize bad design instantly. when we can't tell what the hell we're looking at and we can't figure out where to go. When a brochure or a website is jam-packed with information, images, and icons, order and comprehension are severely challenged. Like the brand guru, Martin Neumeyer, says, a wealth of information leads to a poverty of attention. Here are the qualities that distinguish good from bad branding. Consistency, and this is a real important one. One of the most important factors for brand success is consistency. Consistency is the only way your customers will become more familiar with your brand over time, and any deviation could compromise that consistent experience. Good brands are consistent. Who they are, how they communicate to their audience, and how they present themselves. Unlike a good brand, poor or bad branding don't pay proper attention to these qualities. Uniqueness. Establishing a brand identity requires something distinctive. For instance, Apple has become known worldwide for their innovative products and minimalistic aesthetic appeal. Creating an identity with a niche doesn't demand a revolutionary idea. It simply needs to have one special thing that separates it from the competition. Everything about a brand should be simple and short, so there is no complication related to how the brand is perceived in the market. Keep the message that your brand is trying to convey as simple as possible. If a brand is too hard to figure out, your potential customer will merely ignore you, and that is the worst thing that can happen. Human-to-human connections are the heart and soul of business. At the end of the day, you are dealing with people. Storytelling is a powerful technique for building relationships. It's important to have a story behind your business and brand. Storytelling is what will breed a feeling of true familiarity, and it is remarkably effective at generating trust. Part of getting the attention of your customers these days is to make your marketing strategies engaging and interactive. People want to connect and influence the evolution of your brand. They don't want to be talked at and overtly sold to. Because of this, it's a great idea to exploit social media as much as you can and interact with your audience. Branding is something that we all have to do. Your brand is a reflection of your personality. Don't fake it. Work on being authentic and totally transparent, and your following will happen naturally. If content is king, then consistency is queen. So we're back on consistency. Achieving brand consistency means that people recognize your brand wherever they encounter it, even across online channels. And it is essential that people see your company as credible, relatable, and trustworthy. Brand consistency means customers receive the same experience and impression of your brand across all communication channels. Imagine for a moment, you're sitting in front of the TV when your show cuts to commercial. The plain white background featuring natural smiling woman in white tees and tank tops gives off a light and refreshing feeling. Without the voiceover or logo, you automatically know the commercial is for Dove. How? Through the recognition of consistent brand messaging, such as the celebration of real beauty and fresh, clean aesthetic. Brand consistency is important for every business because it has a direct and immediate impact on the perception of your brand and company, both internally and externally. Good brand consistency can build confidence in your company and lead to more engaged employees and customers. Excuse me. Poor brand consistency can decrease trust and ultimately harm your reputation. So why should you invest in branding? Needless to say, branding boosts the visibility of your business and inspires loyalty and credibility in your customers. Investing in branding is a must for any business, including a small and medium-sized businesses, startups, or large enterprises. Even if your products are selling like hotcakes, investing in branding should be at the top of your priority list because that is a long-term investment that will pay off big time. Invest in your brand. It pays dividends with all your key audiences. And here's how. With your customers. When customers get who you are and recognize you right away and understand why they should care enough to buy from you, you give prospects a reason to choose you over the competition. It speeds up the purchasing cycle. It boosts credibility and authority when entering new markets, drives customer loyalty and satisfaction, building trust in your business, and ultimately attracts better customers. With partners and vendors, when business partners and vendors understand who you are in a credible way, you gain greater access to new business partners, become a desirable, trusted partner of choice, and it boosts your credibility and authority. With employees and recruits, when employees and potential employees believe your brand values and promise, you attract and retain top talent, enhance employee morale and loyalty, and you make your company a more desirable workplace. And finally, your bottom line. When you create a well-positioned, differentiated brand, you create real economic value, helping you to close sales more easily, earn premium pricing, and support the valuation of your company. So your brand and how it lives in the world, it supports or hinders your success. A strong brand sets the stage for growth, influence, and profitability. These results are measurable in awareness and perception, customer acquisition and loyalty, and financial performance. Branding isn't just another line item in your marketing budget. It's the foundation that, when done properly, can pay dividends over the life of your business. And that would be the end of my slides. Kind of charged through those.
Oh, no, I think that was perfectly timed. I was able to follow along and I got lots of great insight. So if you want to stop your share now, so that way we can see you, and maybe Venessa would like to join us as well. That was fantastic, Bonita. Wow, I had an inkling as to the depth that we would go into, but that was so informative. And I'm really looking forward to investigating what my little ideas, where they would slot into those categories and archetypes. I love that. And also just how much thought really goes into every single word, every single color, every single, part of your business that is associated with your brand. Super interesting. I understand now, Venessa, why you would think, wow, okay, I didn't go this deep before. This was a real deep dive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think if we make the presentation available, there's a lot of information in there. And I think it'll be a good resource for people to have on hand, when they looking at putting together a marketing campaign or looking to put together, a new landing page or a brochure or whatever, to sort of go back to that and go, okay, where does my brand fit in, and if I'm everyman or I'm caregiver, what kind of messaging do I need to be portraying? And then examples of those kinds of businesses and see whether your brand aligns with that, if it's Dove or so, just depending on, because there would be a lot of small businesses sitting in that Dove space, as well as a lot of the other examples, obviously not nearly as big, but it doesn't mean that you can't portray a very similar message. So I think, from a resource point of view, it's probably one of the more valuable resources out there, and it also explains what certain terms mean, brand archetype and personality and what is a logo. And I think that when people are going through the process of actually having their branding done, and there's a lot of people in the market right now who have just rebranded or are looking to rebrand and launch that rebrand for the new year. So I think that's, some of the information that Bonita's put there, that, comes from her 18 years experience, both as a graphic designer and also a web developer. So she understands sort of both sides of it. And she worked with a lot of businesses to get their branding message right and their marketing message right. So she's sort of gone beyond just the graphic design and the web development. But, that's an area that we can help with. If the small businesses have questions, both of us offer free consults. So, I would normally talk to whomever that needed some support, and I would then point them in the right direction if Bonita's a good fit for what they're looking for.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. You are really great at just connecting with people on a real grounding level so that it's not intimidating. And I actually found that was, I love how you've thrown that into your brand. Like you've actually made that your branding. I didn't even realize that was, I wasn't familiar with the archetypes like myself and what I kind of do. I'm in the jester space. Like I went, oh yeah, that's where I like to sit. And it's very clear just from meeting you and working with you over this past year that you do sit in that caregiver space, and how wonderful that you've found somebody to, bring who you are into your brand. So it's quite recognizable just from the get-go. And that's just fabulous. And this, I just loved all the graphics that you used in this presentation. Obviously that's your specialty and you can see that, but it just made it really easy to follow along and understand. And I know that our Digital Boost viewers are going to get so much benefit from this. Actually, we're going to feature it, again and again, because it's just there's just been such a fabulous presentation. And I had another point, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, I wanted to let folks know, obviously you can contact these guys to help you set that up if you would prefer to have somebody do it for you. We are going to be running sessions in-house in the beginning of the year. So the first couple of weeks in January, we're going to be getting our whole team together to run some sessions. And a couple of the sessions are revolved around branding and just how to create logos on, we know branding now is more than just your logo, but, we'll show you how to use Canva and create that kind of stuff. And we'll show you how to, talk about, like some of the little bits and pieces that you touched on. If you want to do some DIY, then check out those week sessions in early January, and you'll be able to tune in and find that out from our team. But this has been so wonderful. I know that there's no questions because honestly, why would you have a question? Because in fact, it's just been so informative. I'm just checking the platform.
The other thing that Venessa and both of us offer, I worked very hard last year to access is we can offer 6 months no payments and 6 months interest free. So if someone wanted to go through the process and they thought perhaps that it wasn't achievable for them, we do have options. We have invoice spread payments. We have all kinds of things to help the small business, earn over a 6 month period without the stress of having to pay. So they benefit from all the, could be web development, could be rebranding, could be, enhancing their branding. It doesn't always have to be the whole process. It can be part of the process too.
And I know that you're also, Venessa, you're really tapped into what kind of funding is out there as well. And you often help direct folks to, oh, you know what, actually you might qualify for funding in this area.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you've done that with a lot of businesses in the past. So you're a really great asset in that sense, because not everybody knows that, and not every marketing and I guess like graphic design is going to go that extra length to help you to find those things or be aware of them, because it doesn't necessarily help their bottom line, but you always go that extra distance, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, so at the moment there's funding for available that people can apply for in Auckland. I think there's 4,000 and 3,000, and so the first stage is information, depending on where you're at. So if you work with regional business last year and you've already done the advice part, then you'll only do the implementation. So it's advice and implementation. If you haven't done the advice, you apply for advice first, and then implementation, where the company that you choose to work with from the supplier directory will then put a quote together. You then apply for the funding. If it gets funded, you then work with that business. So regional business was purely advice or training. So it wasn't actually anything done for you, but in the new funding, there is implementation where things can be done for you, like social media marketing or wherever you need help.
Oh, awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for all these small businesses getting all these golden nuggets. It's so great.
Yeah.
This has been a fabulous thing. Yes, Bonita, please. You're so polite.
Why I chose to partner up with Venessa, because what she offers small businesses is more than just a single or 3 kinds of services. She gives them the whole package of good advice. So they might not necessarily need my service, but she offers them 3 or 4 other things that's got nothing to do with me, that will certainly boost their business and help them really to grow. She really does care about small businesses, and she goes above and beyond to get them the resources that they do need and just point them in the right directions. So she's like a coach in that manner.
You're a wonderful person. You both are. Oh, this has been so fabulous. What a great way to kind of finish up the week. I want one more session this week, but I feel like I'm full. My cup overfloweth.
I'll send you the presentation, and you can add it as a resource with the recording. And if anyone's got any questions, the information is it's on the first slide.
Yeah, do you want to pop that slide back up again, Bonita, really quickly, just so that people can take a screenshot if they need to? Just makes it a little bit easier, especially those folks on Facebook and stuff like that, because once I tune off, then
Okay, just give me a second.
Yeah, no worries at all. Take your time. Take your time. I put you on the spot now. Yeah.
That should be it.
There we go. Perfect. Look at those colors. Yeah. So I love the difference, right? Like that's the top one, right? The top one. And then versus the bottom one. It's just so clean,
The top one was very, very difficult to overlay as a PNG on most colors.
Yeah.
Because often the color would just go, the one section of color would disappear. So it would look like it's broken.
Yeah.
With the new one and all the different variations, if I've got a blue background, I can use a white logo, depending on what kind of images I've got in Canva. But, if you go into Canva and you just create a brand kit, your brand kit is all your hex colors and all your fonts. It makes everything so easy.
And I'm going to give a prop up to a New Zealand business that is, and possibly I mentioned them before when you've been on, but there's a company called Design Space, and it's DZYN and then an actual space and then the word space. And they are basically like Canva of New Zealand. So if you're looking for a New Zealand based Canva, Design Space is that site. He's worked with John Boyle's worked with lots of graphic designers and stuff on this project. And it's almost like Adobe Photoshop meets Canva. So it's got a little bit more in depth, but he works with local graphic designers. So you can hire through that site. He gets images that are native New Zealand images. So you can actually find things that are New Zealand based on there. So just a little plug for those guys, because they are a small business in Christchurch, and we love to prop them up a little bit as much as we can. Canva is obviously global now. It's been bought out by a US company. It started in Australia, but
Canva's great, but not so much for print. The resolution's not quite there, but for web, social media, amazing.
It's good for social media. I think it's like a great tool for social media. Once you've got your brand kit, you've sorted this stuff all out. It's nice and clean. I personally kind of think when it comes to logos and it comes to those kind of things, this is a personal opinion, that it is nice to get a little bit of professional advice, because it's something that, maybe you really need to be an expert in and understand the depth behind it. And then once you have that color code and you've got those things, you can plug them into platforms like Design Space and Canva, and they look really clean and fresh. Because sometimes we get caught up in what we like versus who our audience is. And I think that happens a lot, and it happens a lot with color preference. I know that, a lot of artists, you'll go to their house, it looks like a crazy zone because they just put so much color on the walls. I'm totally guilty. But when you have somebody come in who's an actual interior designer, they'll strip all that back and you revisit the space and it's so much nicer to be in. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just
absolutely. And I mean,
everybody's got an eye, there is
the simple things, and often small businesses would be stuck on an idea or stuck what to do or whatever, and often it's sometimes it's just the little smallest things that make the biggest difference. And when you talk about a rebrand, people just think, oh, so new colors, new logo. It's not that. It's all about your messaging.
Who you actually
it's
are.
who you actually are, why you exist. So when someone goes through a rebrand with Bonita, it's much more than what it looks like. You're talking about your audience, you're talking about the bigger picture. So it's going to help you not just with the way people perceive your brand, but your messaging and everything. It's all encompassing. So it shouldn't even be called rebrand. It should be called something else.
Yeah. Well, I guess I think we've changed the word brand. You know what I mean? Because brand actually always encompassed all of that. But when we've kind of zoomed it into like a couple of things as what we think is branding, but really because there's so much that's done that's psychological that we don't even realize. I think, as the consumer, we don't see all of the other stuff. We just see certain things and go, oh, Coca-Cola, that's red, white, possibly black, red, white, black, and it does this and it's happiness. And, like they've sold us on that. But there's so many things that underpin what they've done there for us.
And they do catch you. And most branding does catch you on a subconscious level. So whereas you don't realize it, they are giving you tiny hints and messages, and they are influencing your behavior, and you don't even realize it.
I've got a question for you, Bonita, about branding. So if, we all have our own personalities. Say you're the jester. I'm going to put that out there because I feel like, that's my humor or what have you. What if you're that person, but your audience is something completely, people who you want to sell to or something completely different? Do you change who you are? Do you brand yourself based on you can't show that side of yourself because it doesn't fit with your brand? Or how does that work? Because a lot of us have, a certain personality, but maybe we want to sell to a certain crowd. So do we have to transform who we are in order to fit that crowd? Or how does that work?
No, you don't have to transform yourself. This is why we look at a brand as a person of its own. You are not your brand. Where if you do align with your brand perfectly, you could embody your own brand. But if your brand is its own person, it's going to behave in its own ways. So when you do talk for your brand, when you give the message, when you type out the email, you're going to have to talk the way the brand would. So you're going to have to assume that you are the brand when you are communicating. You are still free to be your own person and, live side by side with your brand. But in most cases, people tend to align with their brands because they do what they love and they are who they are. So they are more authentic and they are more aligned with their brands. But in the case where your brand is something completely different than you, it's just going to be a complete different person on its own, living and breathing and talking on its own. And then you on the other side, you just actually have to do the keystrokes.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it's nice to think of it as another person.
Yeah.
Because that's easier than saying, oh, but I'm losing myself. It's like, no, but this is its own person. It doesn't have to be you. Yeah.
Once you've gone through the whole development of building this person from scratch, you gave him a face, you gave him a voice, you gave him a personality. You've got this intimate understanding of who this person is. So when you do put them out in the world, you have that intimate understanding. So you know how they would talk, what they would say, how they would act, and the choices they would make.
And you can see
it's just up to you to manage that thing.
You can see how important it is to go into more detail. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
A lot of small businesses just get a logo and then they think that's that. They don't. And I have conversations with them. And I said, do you know your font? No.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know your hex colors? No.
Yeah.
I just kind of and all it ends up doing is confusing your audience, because I mean, if you look at Coca-Cola, 97% of the world's population recognize that logo. because they just haven't mucked with it. You know, they got it right and they just stuck with it, and they use it everywhere.
And they're very consistent with their messaging. You know, even let's take video ads. You know, you will feel happy and you will feel, you know, that young, vibrant feel when you
joy,
see
isn't
them.
it?
And, you know, you'll be happy to see Coca-Cola. You'll be happy when you've got a Coca-Cola. You know,
and your thirst will be quenched. You know, but it's funny because when I go and see a Coca-Cola, I don't go, oh, I won't necessarily buy a Coca-Cola because I'm thirsty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they have really sold me on that idea. Like, I'll buy water, but
it still evokes that emotion, you know, whether you actually buy it or not. I mean, so that, you know, they achieve what they set out to achieve. Yeah.
And
I love M&Ms, the old M&Ms ads that they used to do with the little M&Ms, and they jump out of the cupboard and stuff and be like, you know, like, I love that kind of marketing. It's my favorite. Having lived in the States for a number of years.
You should actually love the new Old Spice.
I haven't seen any. I don't have TV, so I don't.
Muscular Terry Crews doing all the ridiculous stuff.
I'll have to check it out. I love the psychology behind marketing and branding. I find it really interesting as an anthropologist. So I really do. This is one of my favorite areas. I've really enjoyed this talk so much today. And I hope all the folks that are watching it now and later enjoy it as well. I guess, yeah, I could talk to you guys for ages, but we really should probably sign off. I'm looking forward to more to come in the new year, and I hope you guys have a fabulous holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Anna Marie. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Ka kite, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.